What's up, fight fans? I'm J.COTTO. Welcome to J.COTTO's Fight Page. And I'll be bringing you a little something that I've been wanting to come out with. But since everybody in the YTBC is doing it, then I might as well bring it out now, even though I had it in the works. But this is just basically, man, fans letting their fighters or other fighters and basically not holding fighters up to their standards and just basically calling fighters that they have an agenda on, and being neo boxing fans, just basically just shitting on quality fighters as well. You know what I mean? So it's basically fans not holding fighters up to standards and yet calling them great and just allowing other fuckeries to happen within the sport and not really pulling the right cards that they're supposed to be pulling. Now, I'm going to begin with Terrence Crawford and John Molina. Now, a lot of people are saying that it was a cherry pick, and I can understand that about 25% simply because they expected a better opponent in Crawford, in his opponent selection. But people have to understand that John Molina, number one, was ranked. Number two, John Molina is a pretty good fighter. And basically at 140 and going up to 147. Now, him fluctuating between 140 and 147, this goes to show you that he does do that because he weighed in 4 pounds over. And him having good victories within the 140 division really made him formidable. Now, Terrence Crawford having two straps, fighting, being an ambidextrous fighter, whether people don't want to see that or not, people have to see that Terrence Crawford is an ambidextrous fighter. Whether he's a lefty and he starts off, orthodox and he switches southpaw within the match, it doesn't matter. He still has both stances and he uses them, so it makes him ambidextrous. Now, this wasn't a problem when fighters who could hit with two hands really didn't switch up as much, but just can hit with two hands from one stance, whether it be orthodox or whatever, like Tito Trinidad. You know what I mean? Could hit hard as a mule with both hands. Thing is that he didn't switch southpaw as much, or hardly. Now, we can't down any of Terrence Crawford's feats in this era, especially coming from someone who has been through, a couple of eras. I have to give it to him. He has that throwback fighter feel, and nobody can take that away from Terrence Crawford. Now, whether your agenda is racial, you don't like him because of that, whether your agenda is simply because you're a neo boxing fan and you are stuck to one boxer, one fighter, and you just don't know how to really look at other fighters because you just don't understand them, or you're stuck on your fighter, a neo boxing fan or a fanboy, then that's your problem. My suggestion to you would be open your eyes a bit more and know how to watch boxing. Terrence Crawford is pound for pound the best in the 140 division. I'll repeat. Terrence Crawford is pound for pound at the 140 division. Now, it is important for us to have a pound for pound ranking to know exactly who within their division, this is the only reason why I agree with pound for pound status, is the best within that division. This is why pound for pound should be used for that. There are a lot of fight fans out here that give that crown to someone like a Vasil Lomachenko, which you can't really make him pound for pound just yet because he still needs a resume and a half and more fights. More fights equals his resume. Am I right or wrong? So Vasil Lomachenko's getting there. But so far, he's proven to want that pound for pound status. Even he has stated it. He's not pound for pound yet. He wants that crown. So, two more good fights, and he'll be there. But they have to be formidable opponents. Uh, Back to the John Molina and Terrence Crawford. Now, they called that a cherry pick, but yet most of these rhetorics are coming from Angel and Danny Garcia, who didn't pick John Molina at all, and they were supposed to fight him, right? But they didn't pick him at all. But yet he's a cherry pick. But and then let's really tell the difference here between Terrence Crawford's quote unquote cherry pick in John Molina Jr. and Danny Garcia's cherry pick within that prospect who wasn't even ranked. Okay, wasn't even ranked in the WBC, and he chose him for a warm up fight or a supposed warm up fight before the Thurman match. So think about this before you call anyone a cherry picker. Who's more of the professional? Who has more wins? And who's more recognizable or noticeable? Terrence Crawford fought a John Molina who was number one recognized, number two ranked, and number three happens to be a good fighter in this era. Now, whatever John Molina did or didn't do, that's on him. So, Terrence Crawford is not a cherry picker. Terrence Crawford is the best pound for pound at 140. And Terrence Crawford is no joke. And he is a hashtag legacy fighter. He's fighting guys he's supposed to be fighting. I agree with Zone 6 when he says he would like to see Adrian Broner against Terrence Crawford at 140. And I would love to see that too. The problem here is they might have to go to 142 because Adrian Broner has a problem making 140. See? So that would be the only thing that would hold that match up. But I expect that match to be given in 2017 somewhere. Now, the junior middleweights at 154, of course, we have Jamal Charlo, who happens to have a number one contender. Okay? A mandatory, which is Demetrius Andrade. Okay? He's ranked number one by the WBC. He's supposed to be getting his title shot. Now, for those that are going to get into the political background and start saying, oh, but he's always pulling out. He even pulls out of purse bids. Well, if you're going to agree with the politics, you want your fighter getting the right money, right? Right? So what's wrong with a fighter pulling out of something that is not recognizable to him, that does not benefit him, especially if it's coming to money, since you guys want to take it there, right? So think about exactly why he pulled out of the Lara match, why he pulled out of the Charlo matches earlier. The kid knows his worth. But now let's get off the political issue and let's get into the fighting issue, which is him being ranked number one by the WBC, and he is a mandatory, which all in all gives him that deserving shot and that spotlight, should I say, for him to go against a Charlo, Jamal Charlo, the champ. You see, Demetrius Andrade has also called out Lara. Of course, Lara is being who he wants to be and contradicting himself as well, because we all know who he's fighting next. And a lot of people are not agreeing with that. I don't agree with it either, because you won't fight Demetrius Andrade, but you'll take less money to fight who you're going to fight next. See, so these guys have double standards. Let's hold that word standards on the side of our mind for a minute now. Okay? Let's hold that. Remember the word standards. So now that Demetrius Andrade is ranked number one, he had let them know as well in their presser, with no disrespect, tried to do it classy, but of course, the politics and the bias basically had the mic snatched from him, was told to respect when he didn't come off disrespectful, and just simply told him, yo, congratulations, it's not how you thinking. I just want to know when we can get this on. And of course, Jamal Charlo went into a panic mode along with whatever staffers they were, and they snatched the mic. So what's going on with that, fight fans? Now, the rest of the heavyweights are being pushed by you fight fans, us fight fans. But some fight fans are giving David Haye a pass for fighting a cruiserweight in Bello, even though he made Shannon Briggs do two things: a CAT scan and win impressively in his undercard that he had, and Briggs passed with flying colors. Now he was going to go up against Lucas Brown, but Lucas Brown tested positive for a substance, and Briggs no longer has the WBA regular that's vacant in his sights now. So the WBA decided to make him number one so he can get a match with King Kong Ortiz, which to me is much more competitive and better. Everybody will push everybody else, but you won't give a push to Shannon Briggs, who possibly can make history in your era, something you guys can actually talk about, something that you guys can actually witness as to being part of the Hurt Business in your era, history, standards. Remember that. So Briggs will be setting a standard, becoming a 3-decade champion, which has never been done. He'd be the first. So no one will push for Briggs. But yet Briggs is out there pushing himself, making himself worth. A lot of people like entrepreneurial boxers, right? Well, Briggs is doing that. He's also got a hashtag and a motto, "Let's go champ." He's even got it in Spanish, "Vamos campeón." Right? And the fans love it. Even the fans across seas, overseas, in England. So what's going on here? Because it's been voiced. It's been voiced. The politics is exactly what's holding the demand back. But the man will always win if it gets louder. I want to see Briggs gain his third title and become 3-decade champ. Let's go champ. And even if he has to do it against King Kong Ortiz, it shall be done. So nothing is stopping his stride. What's stopping yours, fight fans? To have, and I said this before and I'll say it again, to have a veteran within the mix of these young fighters that are up and coming or are being situated or situating themselves within the sport, Briggs will be baptism under fire for these guys, which most of them need. Because most of you fight fans don't know exactly what great is. And you're quick to say that this fighter is a great fighter. But no, a lot of them haven't even been baptized under fire yet. So Briggs will definitely be that test. And King Kong Ortiz has been undergoing a lot of bad mouthing as well. This is why I'm glad and I hope that Eddie Hearn is willing to make this fight with Briggs and Ortiz. Because now both of these men can test each other. And both of these men can prove their worth to fans, to fight fans. King Kong Ortiz has been called out of shape, old, exposed, which was all a myth. It's all an agenda to push certain fighters. Well, that's got to stop. The truth is going to be told. Hashtag the red gloves. Now, people are agreeing that Ward won, okay, but is now saying that he will retire. And I have a question for his fans. Are you guys okay with him winning and his win being questionable? Are you guys okay with that? Are you guys okay with Andre Ward barely making it, getting the straps, and then retiring without solidifying his win against Kovalev in a rematch? You guys really have to be honest with yourself with this now. Because that's more like a take it and run. See, because had the shoe been on the other foot and Kovalev would have won that match and he would have taken them straps the way Andre Ward did with a questionable win, you guys definitely would want the rematch. So why be biased? You guys can't really call yourself a boxing fan if this is what you're backing. And right away, his excuse was, it has to be right. It has to sound right. But there's a rematch clause that they have a right to exercise. Kovalev's camp, that is. So what has to sound right? Okay? First of all, You walked away and you were the A side in the first fight. And you walked away with $3 more million than Kovalev. You got five, he got two. I'm more than sure these guys are catered to your needs for the second one. So what's the problem here? That's something to investigate, fight fans. I also want to put this out there as well for fight fans that are biased, fight fans that are not telling the truth, fight fans who back a lot of fuckery up coming from most of these non fighting fighters that just want to go and take less of an opponent or less quality in an opponent, talk about its money, but then they wind up getting less for the person that they're fighting, and the pedigree of the fighter that they're facing is way, way, way less than theirs. Let's talk about it. See, because holding these young fighters to the standards of the greats, hoping that they break records and feats and set records and feats themselves, is something that they have to do before we call them great. Okay? Fighters fighting each other to become great, it's what it is. So we can't have a fighter who at one division didn't even close out the division, which is basically okay, right? I guess, but didn't fight the threat or threats, plural, within that division and just moved on up. Like Leo Santa Cruz, like Frampton, they didn't fight Ringadao. But they did a whole lot of political shit with his strap. And then at the end of the day, they gave it right back to him. Guillermo Ringadao stupid for letting that happen to him. But these are just one of the examples of the politics. One of the examples that you can overcome as well by voicing yourself. I cannot call Danny Garcia great just because he did pretty good at 140, and now that he's at 147, beat a gatekeeper within Robert the Ghost Guerrero, and then fought a no-ranked prospect. Okay, and mind you, won a vacant WBC strap, didn't win it off combat or any type of rough combat against a formidable opponent. So what's going on here? Why is everyone calling fighters that still have yet to prove great? And then you guys want to right away, without them setting any standards, without them breaking any records or feats from the greats, you want to say that they're better than the greats. That's something that's utterly ridiculous. Don't you think? If we don't hold these young fighters to the standards of the greats and don't compare them to the greats, then what are we comparing them to? Why are they even fighting? In football, you've got the quarterback. If he can throw more yards than Joe Namath, right? If he can rush more yards, I mean, what are these records and feats up there for then? We have to start opening our eyes and understand that foundation has been laid and nobody is actually trying to break any records here or any feats of the greats, but yet they want to be called better than the greats without lifting a fucking punch. More money does not make a great fighter or a great fight. There are a lot of fighters who come up short across debate tables when compared to the greats. And a lot of fighters of this era, that will happen. Now, before I close out, I just want to tell you guys with the Thurman and Garcia match, I'm going for Keith Thurman. The reason why I feel Keith Thurman will win is because, number one, his activity. Two, he's a legit 147-pound welterweight. And he has fought formidable opponents, and his pedigree is up to par. The reason why Garcia, I feel, will lose, will give it his all, but will lose, is because he has not fought anyone who is formidable within 147. He's going up against an elite fighter within this era, his era, within Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is the WBA champion, welterweight champion. He has defended his strap well against formidable opponents. We all saw what Keith Thurman did to Robert the Ghost Guerrero. We saw what Danny Garcia did to Robert the Ghost Guerrero. This isn't a triangle theory. It just goes to show you who's more busier at 147, whose power will carry at 147. If you guys think that the guy or the kid that was not ranked by the WBC, on who Danny Garcia got his empty title defense on, which is what most of these fighters are doing today, fighting nobodies and getting empty wins and empty title defenses, you have to ask yourself this question here. Will Danny Garcia survive Keith Thurman at all? A lot of people think that the way he used to be at 140, he's going to be like this at 147. Most of his power doesn't even carry at 147. Him getting a stoppage over that young green prospect does not impress me at all, and didn't show me anything. Especially title defense with someone who wasn't ranked. This is something that we all have to take a look at and investigate. So before we go and call any of these fighters that are not fighting and not setting feats or not trying to break records or not trying to be like the greats, in which is a standard we have to hold them up to because they do it in every sport, and this is the number one sport that it should be done with, then it's a lost cause and it's a lost argument and a forgotten debate. And you might as well call yourself a non-boxing fan and just be biased and give your favorite fighter all the feats that he did not deserve or he did not actually put himself through, which would not really make you a boxing fan. So you guys have to understand, before we go and call anyone great or any match great or any card great, these guys have to start fighting each other in order to become greats. So any boxing fan who's going to follow the advice of Angel Garcia and say, that's why you have sulkers and don't put them together, these young guys just yet, put them on at an older age, that's not boxing. Those are political views. Those are agendas on just making that money. Okay, if you're a prize fighter and that's how you are, then that's the road you take. But you don't call yourself a legacy fighter if you're not unifying straps, or if you're not trying to fight the best within the division, or try to move up one or two divisions to fight the champ or contenders there. Rough contenders. My name is J.COTTO. Thank you for joining my fight page. Hashtag come back to boxing. Hashtag the red gloves. Peace. God bless. Stay vigilant.